Hello and welcome to Strategic Mental Health. I'm Carissa Bone and I've worked as a licensed professional counselor for over 25 years across various settings. And the thing that's most striking of all of my experience is the need for an approach to our psychological health that is both proactive and preventative. Hence why I'm doing this channel, and I've made it a mission to create conversations from the kitchen table to the boardroom table about our psychological health. Now, remember that information discussed on this channel is just that. It's information, it's education, and entertainment. It is not intended to replace any clinical or offer medical advice. Having said that, if you tuned into my last video, you know that we were talking about becoming a student of our thoughts, learning how to observe our thoughts and manage what we think and how we think in a way that serves us well, managing what we think and how we think to inform how we show up and what we do in a way that reflects just what we intend. Some people say stay on brand, if you will. That being said, I did get a little bit of feedback that, okay, Carissa, that's great. I tried that. I really worked to become a student of my thoughts, but quite frankly, unless there was a lot of emotion tied to it, I found myself speaking first or doing first and then reflecting on what I was thinking. Remember, the last thing I spoke on was your default. What do you default to? And I think that is what most people I was able to connect with spoke to me about. That being said, the truth is we do have the ability to stop and focus, as I've heard from a couple of you that you were able to focus on what you were thinking and how you were thinking and what patterns you were able to come up with as a result of observing what you were thinking and how you were thinking. But back to the number, between 6,000 and 60,000 thoughts a day, according to the research. It's pretty fair to say that we are not consciously aware of each of those thoughts, nor the patterns that develop as a result of that. And that's because we have what's called automatic thoughts. Just like it sounds. These are thoughts that are almost like reflex reactions. In fact, they are what I call on autopilot. Thoughts that just linger and are driven in our subconscious. And so I guess I can anticipate your next question. Well, Carissa, if they're in our subconscious, if I'm not even consciously aware that I'm having these thoughts, how on earth am I supposed to do anything about it? Well, I'm glad you asked. The reality is those thoughts that are on autopilot tremendously impact and inform what we say and generally how we show up and present, how we present and how we are perceived by others. Let me give you an example. I had a parent come in. This has actually happened more than once, but in my work with children and families, I did observe this, whereas the parent would come in and the child would come in and the child would say, my parent is overly critical of me. They criticize so much of what I do. And the parent would say, well, I don't do that because my parent did that. And I said, I would never do that to my child. Well, guess what? When that parent was growing up, they observed their parents, making critical, negative statements about them. And they fought on those critical and negative statements. They observed what their parents' behavior modeled. And they took that in with what they saw and what they heard. And then those thoughts that they had within themselves was, I will never be critical. I will never say negative. I will never, over and over rehearsing the very thing that they would not do. And then in turn repeating that. So our automatic thoughts are those things that we acquire, thoughts that we develop by what we take in over and over. These automatic thoughts, in fact, are learned behaviors that are habitually rehearsed so that they're on, what did I say? Autopilot, almost reflective. So back to that parent. That parent then rehearsed what the parent didn't want to see. And when the parent became the parent, right? The parent who was in my clinic, in fact, realized that's exactly what was happening. So therein lies the question. The parent was intent on not repeating that pattern. But what the parent rehearsed was the very thing they did not want to see. So as opposed to rehearsing, I will validate and affirm my child. I will create change through talking to my child about what I want to see. They rehearsed, I will not negative behavior, criticize, negative commentary. So not even aware they were rehearsing in their thoughts, in their mind, negative, critical, critique. And that's what came out of their mouth. That's exactly how they showed up, what they rehearsed. So what I'm proposing to you is that these thoughts that are on automatic pilot can be managed, even proactively so. If you determine that you want to, for example, communicate positively, given the parent's example, we're talking about being proactive here. Another way this same parent could have approached this is when the parent identified what they did not want to repeat as an adult, instead of rehearsing, I don't want to criticize my child, I don't want to be mean and negative. This is what they could have rehearsed. I will affirm my child. I will teach my child what I want to see. I will communicate positively. I will speak helpfully. So what they're doing, as opposed to rehearsing the negative, what they don't want to see, they speak to the positive, what they want to see. Hence, they're training their brain and their thoughts to go on autopilot with what they want to see. And so those thoughts then begin to inform their day-to-day thoughts, words, actions, and then outcome. And long story short, in this scenario in particular, the parent acknowledged, oh. So the parent gained the awareness and in fact was able to observe how in fact they did repeat the same behavior they said they would not repeat. And what the parent was able to do, we started with something simple. Find 3 or 4 things that you appreciate, attributes that you love and enjoy about your child. And ensure that each day you are affirming or speaking positively to those things. And we also discuss language to instruct in a way that teaches what you want to see as opposed to rehearsing what you don't want to see, because that child then is hearing what they will then replicate. So this becomes a healthy cycle. Whereas, yes, the parent was affirming the child then adopted languages and thoughts that were affirming for the child. And then therein was this affirming relationship. Now, of course, every relationship has its challenges, particularly in the parenting dynamic, but it was an affirming situation. And what I'm saying to you is that figure out what you want to see and find words, ideas to create thoughts around that, which develops your language to speak to and through you as a result of your thoughts. Then those thoughts go on autopilot and begin to inform what you think, and how you show up in the world. Now, please take these tips we've discussed today, and put them into practice this very week. let me know how it goes. Until next time, remember, let's have these conversations from the kitchen table to the boardroom table about our psychological health. Hope to see you soon.